There's a reason why most successful business leaders are, let's just say, difficult to deal with. Yeah, I hedged my assessment because I know I've got two kinds of readers for this piece. One, you're a successful business leader, and thus you're either in agreement or denial with my premise, or two, you work for a successful business leader and you're in total agreement with my premise. I got both your backs. I'm going for the truth, not for clicks. This is not a humble brag. In my line of work, I come into contact with a lot of rich and successful people. And I think this is due to my personality. They tend to tell me things they shouldn't. Now, most of them are miserable people. Not all of them, but a lot of them. A long time ago, one of my rich and very successful friends told me a story that sheds a lot of light onto why this happens. To keep from betraying trust, I'll be vague. What opened his eyes was when he was at an event attended exclusively by ridiculously rich and successful people. Yes, they do this. Your suspicions are confirmed. Anyway, they were all gathered around late one night having one of those forced trust circle discussions, and to a person, each of them complained that they would finally be really and truly happy if they could only achieve just a little bit more. Yeah, basically more money, more problems. Shit is real. But here's the dirty secret that isn't really a secret for the rest of us. Poor people are never happy either. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, in the 30 plus years of experience I've poured into this content, it's that there is indeed a sweet spot between rich and poor, and that's what you have to aim for. Although, let's face it, every time I say that, people just nod their heads, and then they keep trying to be billionaires and are willing to end up broke and bankrupt to get there. There's a brilliant YouTube video by CGP Grey called 7 Ways to Maximize Misery. Don't go there until you've finished reading this and join my email list, because you'll fall down a rabbit hole and I'll never get you back. The only thing I want to highlight from that video is the conclusion he makes that chasing happiness is actually detrimental to finding happiness. I never thought about that until he said it, and now I can't think of anything more obvious. Now, the same thing is also true of success. I've written before about how doubt can sink business leaders. You can click on that now. Just please come back here when you're done. It's the same concept. In that article, I talk about how successful athletes practice the most mundane things over and over again, like shooting free throws, so they don't have to think about it when the pressure's on. My point, if you're constantly and doggedly chasing success, when the moment comes, you'll probably clench up and miss your shot. So never chase happiness, never chase success. I never said I was a life coach. Now, I wrote that article because the idea of not chasing success was revelatory to me, much in the same way that the chasing happiness paradox was. In other words, I disagreed with both of those concepts until I changed my definition of success. But I preach about that a ton, and you're probably sick of hearing about it, so let me get to the real. I am unhappy all the time. Well, I used to be, and in some sense I still am, but at least now I understand why. It's because I want to create something that I don't know how to build based on a vision I have that is at best murky and probably also misguided. It's because I'm constantly running into blockers, and the best advice I can get to unblock those blockers is a shrug and a "you're on your own." But man, do I love unblocking. It's one of the main reasons I write, probably the main reason. I feel like it's my responsibility to share these unblockers with others who love unblocking blockers, because I know it comes at a mental cost. So I understand why successful business leaders are so miserable all the time. Oh, for the record, I'm not rich, but I'm definitely successful, and there's a huge difference. I'm miserable, just not all the time. I've been on both sides of the table. I've been both leader and led. I'm both right now. And I've said this before and it bears repeating. I've had the privilege of working with dozens of amazingly great leaders. You should already know this about yourself, but I'm not talking about you. I would not have worked with you if you were an asshole. I do have coffee and drinks with a lot of successful business leaders who are miserable people, and here's what I tell them. You have to be a rock, so understand this and own it. You have to put on a stupidly happy face when you're staring down failure or frustration or pressure. That's what being a successful business leader means. If you don't do that, and sometimes you won't, you'll just add more slippery to the slope. I tell them to stop chasing money, stop chasing success, stop chasing happiness. Just go do the impossible thing and quit complaining about how many practice free throws you have to take to get it done. I'm not miserable. Yeah, I lied to you the entire time. I'm actually really happy, but I know what it's like to have been miserable. I know what it's like to constantly chase success, constantly chase happiness, and ask yourself all the time, why am I not more successful? Why am I not happier? It turns out the most successful people, the people you think are the happiest, do that too, all the time. What I've learned over the years is once I stopped chasing it, once I started redefining it, and when I say I've redefined success, I mean I've redefined success in satisfaction with my life, in everything I do, not just my business. It's not money, it's not fame, it's not any sort of attention, it is satisfaction. If you can redefine success to mean that, if you can redefine happiness to mean that, then by all means, go chase happiness. But until you do that, I'm afraid you're locked in that paradox where chasing the thing you want is going to get you farther away from the thing you want. This is a very esoteric concept, and I do a couple things. I do strategic and I do tactical. If you want tactical and if you want to support what I'm doing here to help entrepreneurs and business leaders, then please help me help you by joining Teaching Startup. Teaching Startup provides access to actionable, insightful, and honest startup advice for entrepreneurs at all experience levels, regardless of their connections or resources. When you join Teaching Startup, you get answers to questions asked by members, real, honest startup questions, not the kind of stuff that you could do an internet search for. You get access to 700 of these questions, answers, posts, and polls. Plus, you get new Q&A each week in an exclusive newsletter. So, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like or subscribe if that's what you're into. But if you want to support me, you can help me help you by becoming a member and a better entrepreneur at teachingstartup.com. I appreciate you. Now go do great things.